Amazing, amazing. So what tends to happen, Lee, isn't it, that we play things over and over again? We've got this kind of thermostat that kind of keeps us in that place, and you know, we might succeed at something, but then it brings us back down, or you know, there'll always be that person, and I certainly used to be that person where just everything seemed to go wrong. You know, it all seemed to happen to me. What is it, you know, why do we get stuck, or why do we keep getting the same results, and how can we use, for instance, these higher mental faculties to change that?
So a lot of people are stuck because here's what's happening. People are looking at their current property portfolio, it's causing their thinking, their current financial results. They're looking at their relationship results. They're listening to the doctor's report, the report card, the sales sheet. We constantly tuned in and paying attention to results on the outside that registers in your thinking mind, in your conscious mind. We get emotionally involved with the idea on the outside. So it goes into your subconscious, your feeling part of your personality. And that creates your action. So people are letting the outside, the current results, dictate what's happening on the inside. And that's the reason people keep getting the same results on Emma over and over. And that's why they're stuck, because we allow in the outside. I mean, if that's the way we live, I mean, these visionaries that you and I have just mentioned, Steve Jobs, you know, the Wright brothers, if they had gone on what was created before them on the current results, they would never have introduced us to all of these new experiences, or the world to these new experiences, if they were locked into the current results. All visionaries, all people that achieve something of significance, they mentally go beyond current results. And if you lock in, I'm not saying be oblivious to what's happening in your reality or in your outside world. Look at your current results, like look at it. I don't allow it to take control of your thinking. Say, okay, that's the result, but I don't like it. I'm going to start thinking ideas of what it is that I do want, and start playing with those ideas so that you can change the flow and get unstuck.
Okay, amazing. And so which do you think, if this is a bit of a cheeky question, but do you think there's one that's the most important? I know we've touched on all of them, but is there one, or is that more specific to you as a person and where you're at in your journey?
So I think it is, Emma, I think it is more specific to each person with regards to how they're naturally wired, or which of these 6 higher faculties that they already naturally have developed. So, you know, the world, some people are laser focused. Like, I know you being left brain dominant, you've got a strong will. I know that. I mean, if you lock into something, you're going to do it. I know that because of how you wired. But the will is very important. I mean, you've got to have a level of focus if you're going to achieve your property goals. You've got to be focused.
It's sort of a two-way thing, isn't it, as well? Is that with the will, so you could say that, yeah, I do stick to something and I keep going, but then on a daily practical note, I can be literally all over the place, you know, as we all can be. You know, you've got WhatsApp pinging here, you've got emails pinging there, and suddenly you've opened up your emails and it's like, why have I just opened up my emails? Because 3 other things have happened. So there is also, that's something that I really work on a lot at the moment, is I kind of think, I've just moved away from the job in hand, I'm going to come back to it, I'm going to come back to it, I'm going to come back to it. So there's, I suppose, even within the will, there's different levels as well.
I actually, my opinion on that, Emma, I think technology is shortening people's attention spans and the ability to focus, right? So you mentioned it earlier, you know, an email comes through, or the phone rings, or you get a ping on one of your social media apps or WhatsApp, and then the next minute you're bouncing off walls and you're not really focused. Now, we're not going to achieve anything of any significance if we don't focus. focus. I mean, what you want to do is put the phone in a different room. You know, close your email if you've got a project or something that you dedicate or you want to dedicate the next 30 minutes to. Get locked into it. And, you know, the world, a tool that you can use to develop the world, I did not share this earlier, but is light a candle opposite your favorite chair and sit and, you know, stare at the candle. There's no disturbance, there's no distraction, stare at the candle. And then see how long you can focus on that candle. You know, if you can focus initially for 15, 20 seconds, and a thought takes your mind away from the candle, bring it right back. And if another thought takes your mind away from the candle, bring it right back to the candle and focus on the candle. As you do that, your focus will get longer and longer and longer. And what you're essentially doing is you're strengthening your will, you're strengthening your focus. And this becomes, you know, if you can focus on one thing, you can focus on anything, it becomes transferable into other areas. So the world, someone like you, Emma, you know, natural thing for you might not be as important. For me personally, I think the two that I'm working most on is imagination and intuition. The imagination, you know, I use that every day. The intuition. Someone said that when we pray, we're talking to God. When we use our intuition, God's talking to us. Now think of how much more effective you will be if you're sensitive to the voice of the universe. You're sensitive to this voice of this higher power. It'll almost be like, Emma, turn left here. Emma, go down this road. Emma, form this JV with this person. This is the right investor. You know what? You haven't tried this person, but go there. You know, imagine having that sort of guidance. So for me personally, I think the intuition is powerful, powerful faculty.
I think it's also, isn't it, it's being open to it. So one of the things that really cropped up is the things that come over and over with me. And what has been a huge thing for me this year is that do you mind muting yourself each time, Lee? Thank you. Is that success is not doing certain things. Success is doing things in a certain way. And this really is reflected here, that we can sit and work at a project, a deal, working it through, and we can, that is doing a certain thing, isn't it? It's working on a project deal. But if you do that certain thing in a certain way, if you do that thing in a certain way, so for instance, turning off the your phone, as you say, putting it in another room, doing all of those things, having KPIs that you're going to hit on a daily basis, doing a daily, you know, gratitude, doing all of these things enables you to become different or successful. And that's when I'm looking through now, I constantly look at, okay, so this isn't quite going how I want it to go. How can I do this in a way that is inherently the same? I'm looking at a deal, for instance, but how can I look at it in a different way? So I absolutely love that. And then when you spoke about the sort of the intuition, so even this week sometimes I think we don't realize the opportunities that come to us. I think it's totally true. I mean, I know you agree with this. It's like we all have the same opportunities. It's just most of us are so closed, we're not open to it. So for instance, this week I've had a number of kind of quite sort of serendipitous meetings. You know, something was kind of taken away from me, which, you know, was kind of one of those things. It was like I wasn't disappointed about it. I looked at it with gratitude, and then suddenly something else cropped up, which almost absolutely kind of fits that gap. And it's like, wow, that's kind of really kind of a crazy thing. And then I'd speak to somebody else and they mentioned somebody, and it was like, oh, well, that's the exact right path. So for instance, this morning, you know, a new sort of a lending facility was brought to my attention. So I'm immediately on the phone, phoning them up and doing those things. And that's, to me, where I'm finding this kind of sort of, I suppose it is a form of intuition, isn't it? But it's being open to it. And again, going back to that, you know, success is not doing certain things, it's doing certain things in a certain way. And that's just so powerful, is to and I think if you live in this world of blaming others as well, that's not my fault, it's everyone else's fault. Whereas actually, when you take it back into yourself and really start searching about what it is in yourself that you can change, and I've seen this all the way through. I mean, when you first met me, Lee, I was totally and utterly disorganized. Nobody supported me. I was a complete victim of life. I was a victim of my family. I was a victim of everything. Now, I can still have a little bit of that victim mentality, of course, you know, but inherently I push it aside, even if I can't see how to get around something, you know, so like a deal has fallen through, or I'm still waiting for investor funds. I'm looking at it from a totally different perspective. And it's very much, what is it that I can do to change, whether it's using and having a toolbox like you've given me, Lee, in having your memory, your reason, your will, your imagination, your intuition, your perception. You can almost kind of pop through those and go, okay, well, am I thinking creatively enough? Am I, you know, am I really have I given this enough of my attention? Am I really open here? Am I listening to perhaps what is cropping up, or am I ignoring things? So yeah, it really is, yeah, so incredibly sort of powerful, yeah, to do that. So I mean, how would you advise people, you know, who are maybe new to this? Because I was totally new. I mean, I'd heard of these things, but I didn't see them as a toolbox or even really relate to it. You know, I just thought I had a bad memory. You know, imagination, I always thought I was okay. Intuition, well, I thought that was a bit kooky. Perception, I mean, that's tremendously interesting. But, you know, how would you say people can sort of come about using them?